Good morning. Welcome to the CGO. I'll give the floor to the Chief Executive. Members of the public, friends of the media, last week at Wang Fok Court in Tai Po, we experienced a devastating fire. The fire did not only burn 7 blocks, it also greatly pained everyone. Many people lost their loved ones, including their families and friends. We also lost a brave firefighter. After days of firefighting, rescue, and search efforts, firefighters have completed the rescue operations. They have successfully rescued a number of residents. The firefighters used their lives to make these miracles happen. We raced against time, and I would like to give my respect to all firefighters. I express my deep gratitude to them. I would also like to thank all personnel in different positions, healthcare staff. They made every effort to save the victims. Police officers were at the scene to maintain order and to support the firefighting rescue operations. They also collected evidence and helped with identification of bodies. A lot of frontline civil servants also worked hard. I also thank the enthusiastic members of the public. Different people have displayed the spirit that we are all one family and that we selflessly sacrifice ourselves and we were able to unite ourselves. The fire has already claimed 151 lives. 79 were injured. Among them, 40 are still hospitalized. The police have already ruled out a number of cases that are unaccounted for. They are now following up on 30 missing person cases. With deep sorrow, we, in the past few days, experienced pain, and the flags in a lot of government buildings were flying at half-mast, and we have set up condolence points in 18 districts in Hong Kong. Many citizens have been to Tai Po to lay flowers and to mourn for victims. The government is making every effort to support the affected residents to help them weather the difficult times. The government has opened up centers to rehouse the affected residents from Wang Fok Court. 2,500 affected residents are rehoused at transitional housing units managed by the Housing Authority, as well as youth hostels and hotels. About 20 affected residents are still at temporary shelters. We have activated the one social worker per household scheme to support the affected residents. Also, 2 to 3 civil servants will help each household to provide support to ensure that each household will get dedicated support. We would like to help affected residents with their emotions, and we would also provide logistic support. I visited some of the affected residents at the transitional housing units. They are happy with the supplies and services as well as support provided to the government. I heard that there are fraudulent SMS messages asking affected residents or other people to provide information of their banking account. I told them to reach out to the social workers or those civil servants who are offering support to them. I condemn the despicable acts of these scammers. In terms of financial relief for each household, we are providing 10,000 emergency cash subsidy to the affected. Starting from this week, we are distributing $50,000 of living allowance to each affected household. For household with deceased, we are providing $200,000 of token of solidarity. We are also providing $50,000 to $100,000 to those hospitalized, $20,000 of subsidy for students, as well as foreign domestic helpers who survive. The government will tide over the difficult times with them. The fire is ruthless, but there is love in the community. Universities in Hong Kong, as well as different organizations, are offering their helping hand to provide support to affected residents. The government set up the dedicated fund, and the startup capital is $300 million. It's the support fund for Wang Fu Court in Tai Po. We also received a large amount of donations from the mainland, and the accumulated fund and donations received reach $1.6 billion. They represent the love and aspirations of many. The government will make sure that all the donations will be spent on helping the affected residents to rebuild their lives and to weather the difficult times. I earlier announced the setting up of 3 working groups and task forces. One of the task forces is making every effort to make sure that we can hold the responsible people accountable. There is an interdepartmental investigation task force led by the FSD. It is investigating the cause of the fire. The police have arrested 13 people on suspicion of manslaughter. The ICAC has arrested 12 people on suspicion of corruption in connection to the maintenance works. People make premeditated acts and mix the compliant protective netting with the non-compliant one. Also, a large amount of styrofoam was used in the maintenance works, and it is a crucial reason for the rapid spread of fire. I hope that as well as the ICAC would work together on the joint investigation so that we can hold the people accountable as soon as possible. We will make sure that those who are responsible will have to bear the legal responsibility. I ask for a thorough investigation, and we should turn our anger and sorrow into power of reform. We have to hold those responsible accountable. We have to expose the truth. We have to do everyone justice. We have to make sure that the deceased can rest in peace and that we can give a peace of mind to those who survive. This fire reflects that there are gross negligences in different parts of the maintenance works. Mistakes were made, and we need a systemic reform. Issues include the following. First, standards were not met, and we have to make sure that there is a good regulatory system. Second, we have to make sure if there were transfer of benefits as well as conflict of interests, or whether there were any collusions. Third, on building maintenance works, we have to review whether the list of compliant safety materials is comprehensive and whether the tests are effective. Fourth, we have to review the roles of different regulatory bodies, including the government departments as well as the authorized professionals. Fifth, building maintenance works may involve bid rigging or corruption. Sixth, fire safety systems should be equipped in every building, and we have to look at who are liable for this. Lastly, seventh, we have to look at the responsibilities of different people, and eighth, we have to look at the level of penalty, whether they are sufficient. As we investigate the cause of fire in full steam in order to prevent the same tragedy from happening, I will set up an independent commission of inquiry to be chaired by a judge to investigate the cause of the rapid spread of fire. I will reach out to the judiciary and invite a judge to chair the independent commission of inquiry to study the detailed scope of work of the commission. Also, I will make sure that the commission will work effectively and efficiently. For example, I will see what kind of information the commission will need in order to exercise their duty. I hope that we can give them as much support as possible so that they can complete the investigation in time and that it can submit the report to the chief executive to help with the reform by the government. Meanwhile, we will continue to make every effort with the relief work. We will not give up on any household. We will help all affected residents to rebuild their lives and homes so that they can get back to normal life as soon as possible. As we are at the critical juncture of helping the affected to rebuild their lives, we have to have the vision and we have to make sure that the community can operate steadily. I have already made the decision. The election was originally scheduled for the 7th of December and it will be conducted as planned. I have directed government personnel to help the injured as well as the affected residents. I set up the support fund and I encouraged donations for the affected and I directed the personnel to help with the affected household and I directed the effort to make a comprehensive and thorough investigation. Next step, in order to prevent the same kind of tragedy from happening, I think we need reform. I thought about partners we need to take forward the reform, and the partners I need would definitely be legislative councillors. They have all experienced the fight, they understand the pain, they will work with the government to implement the reform together. They will help enact legislations to implement the reform. It is an important step for us to elect capable legislative councillors with aspirations in order for us to achieve the goal. We should not stop. We have to continue to move forward in order to turn the anger into power and energy. Conducting the election as planned is a respect to the spirit of our rule of law. We have set a date for the election, and the election has to be conducted as scheduled and as planned. Holding the election as planned helps stabilize the community and help us with the relief work to rebuild the community. Electing legislative councillors would help us carry out the important work that we need and to help us review the legal system. A lot of the work has to be done with the approval of funding by the Legislative Council. I think this is a responsible attitude that we should adopt. The newly elected legislative councillors, after experiencing the pain before they get into the LegCo, for them, it would be an important mission. The new LegCo will, with the importance of reform in mind, will be committed to their work. This fire makes us reflect on our policies and our existing system. I hope the newly elected legislative councillors will work in their own positions and work with the government to take forward the reform.
We have lost many things in the disaster. We need to continue to advance. We need to continue to move forward. Difficulties will only make us stronger. Challenges won't stand in our way. They will keep us even more united. We must stay united and we must rise from sorrow. We need to stand together. We need to show the solidarity of Hong Kong. We need to build a better Hong Kong in the future. Thank you. The floor is now open for questions. Please raise your hand and identify your media outlet when called upon. You're limited to 2 questions. The gentleman on the left. Good morning, Chief Executive. I'm from the RTHK. Director Xia Baolong visited Shenzhen to listen to your report. What does it mean? Did you yourself take part in it? Were elections and the fire covered? What messages did Director Xia Baolong bring to citizens in Hong Kong? The election will be held as scheduled. Members of the public are very busy supporting the relief efforts. Will it make it difficult for you to mobilize manpower of the civil service? Are you going to meet any challenges when it comes to manpower? Thank you. This blaze claims a total of 151 lives. This is of public concern in Hong Kong. The Central People's Government and President Xi Jinping attach a lot of importance to the blaze. President Xi Jinping also directed that all our efforts would be made to help in the relief efforts of Hong Kong. Director Xia Baolong fulfilled the instructions of President Xi Jinping in relation to relief efforts. The relief teams headed by Mr. Nong Rong was sent to Hong Kong. I'm very much grateful to the Central People's Government. I can completely feel the importance attached by Director to Hong Kong. When it comes to the supplies and support of supplies, with the coordination of the Hong Kong and Macau offices, 2 batches of supplies have arrived in Hong Kong. In our firefighting efforts and in the identification of human bodies, lighting system, drones, or even in the healthcare aspect, medical consumables were provided to Hong Kong. These include medical supplies, tools, and so on. These show that the Central People's Government attaches a lot of importance to the relief efforts of Hong Kong. It also shows their all-out support. I talked to Director Xia Baolong. He recognizes our efforts. He expressed full support for our work. He will continue to render support in our work. When it comes to election, I have explained in full to the public. We're going to hold the election as scheduled. I have already explained the importance of this. I will advance reforms with my utmost devotion. Legislators play a very key role, so we need to return ambitious, capable legislators to implement reforms together with the government. This is very important. That's why we will make an all-out effort in our upcoming election. However, relief efforts will not be stopped. We'll continue to render support to the affected. We will only provide more support. There won't be less support. After we have finished the election, we can devote all resources and energy to help members of the public and the affected. So, alongside members of the public, legislators will also be involved. We need the approval of the Legislative Council when it comes to legal reforms, funding approvals, and so on. We have the principle of executive and legislature-led and interaction. We need to prevent tragedy from happening again. We need to build a better Hong Kong. That's why we will continue to hold the election. We won't pause any relief efforts. We will only move faster. Next question. On the right, the gentleman in light blue in the second row.
questions from AFP. So first, can you first confirm whether 3 people, including a student, a former district councillor, and a volunteer, have been arrested for this sedition? And if so, what did they do that was seditious? My second question is, over the past few years, you have spoken about leading Hong Kong from chaos to order and from order to prosperity. And yet this prosperous society allowed 151 people to burn to death. Can you tell us why you deserve to keep your job?
Well, criminals commit offense must be taken to justice. Law enforcement agencies, when they discover crimes, whatever their nature are, then they must be dealt with in accordance with the law. Whoever they are, whatever their background is, if their acts contravene the law enforcement agencies must take action, and they have a duty to do so. And I emphasize, I would not tolerate any crimes, particular crimes that exploit the tragedy that we are facing now. Societies, everybody in Hong Kong are uniting to help those who suffer to continue their living and face up to the future. Anybody who dares to sabotage this attempt, this commitment of society, we will do anything we can to ensure that justice will be done. Yes, it is a tragedy. It is a big fire. Yes, we need a reform. Yes, we have identified failures in different stages. That is exactly why we must act seriously to ensure that all these loopholes are plugged so that those who are responsible will be accountable. The shortcomings will be addressed. The bottlenecks will be addressed. And we will reform the whole building renovation system to ensure that such thing will not happen again. Nobody, of course, will want fire to happen. We'll do our best. It has been the effort of the government, of everybody in society, of everybody involved in this area to do their best. But fire happens in different cities, despite different cities' government and community try their best to do it. We will do our best to prevent it, but it is exactly what the government must do now to ensure that some system failure, which may have been accumulating over years, we need to strengthen the system. We need to reform it. We need to ensure vested interests will not be allowed to be a factor to cause this tragedy. There are a number of factors, and I have explained to you the different areas that we must tackle, the different issues that we have identified. We'll work on each one of them, not a single one of them, each and every one of them. And we're willing to listen to more views, opinions about what they have discovered. This will be included in the investigation and also included in the review to be conducted. I just want to ensure one other thing. This is a time for everybody to unite for a good purpose. But for anybody who tries to sabotage the commitment of society, I will do all I can to ensure justice is done.
好，下條提問。
Next question. The lady in the last row in white. Yes, the second one. Good morning, I'm from Cable TV. According to the latest investigation, the non-compliant protective netting could not be easily reached. Does that mean these non-compliant net already got the certificates, and even by passing the tests done by the government, they may not be 100% compliant, and members of the public may have to exercise self-discipline in order to make sure that the maintenance works could be carried out properly. Well, does that mean there are loopholes to be plugged? And for the Commission of Inquiry, will the report on the investigation findings be released and made public? Also, you mentioned that the election will be held as scheduled. How come you do not invoke the relevant legislations to postpone the election? There is deep sorrow in the community, and have you considered the feelings of the families of the deceased as you decide to carry on with the election? According to the investigation, there are unscrupulous people who, in a premeditated manner, mixed compliant and non-compliant protective netting. I believe that among all the maintenance works, I'm sure some of them are compliant. According to investigation, there are people who work against their conscience. They did not comply with the law, and we have already arrested dozens of them. And we have already arrested dozens on suspicion of corruption. We're now conducting patrols. The buildings department have inspected over 300 buildings with protective netting. We've also obtained samples from these buildings. I've asked the Development Bureau to test the samples we obtained, and it will release the findings of the test as soon as possible. Those without conscience are like the criminals we see every day. Every city in the world sees these criminals with ill intention and malicious intention. There are crimes in every city, and we try our best to combat these crimes. I think different parts are involved in the failures. I raised about 7 to 8 points just now, and I think we have to tackle these areas. On supervision, we see failures. There are areas that we have to enhance. We have to hold people responsible accountable. We have to pursue that accountability. We have to reform the system. Therefore, we will continue to work hard in this regard. Also, those who break the law, they use evolving tactics, and law enforcement agencies face this from time to time, and lawbreakers, they have evolving tactics and approaches. So we have to fight against them, and we have to overcome the challenges. Therefore, we have to support the law enforcement officers so that they would be brave enough to cope with the challenges and to deal with the evolving and ever-changing tactics adopted by criminals and lawbreakers. We have to encourage them. I'm about to set up an independent commission of inquiry. The relevant investigation report will be made public completely. In terms of the election, I've already stressed this. On our path to reform, we will actively promote improvements and reforms. There will be a comprehensive systemic reform. I need legislative councillors to work with us. We have to elect as soon as possible those with aspiration and those who are capable and competent so that they can exercise their duties as early as possible to help scrutinize and examine government proposals as well as our funding proposals. We need legislative councillors to make an all-out effort in order to give us the support. I also stress that we will not stop with the relief work as well as the rescue work. We will also continue to reform. So we have to conduct the election as soon as possible. This will help us with the reform, and it will help us give support, more focused support, and more effective support to the affected residents. We'll take another question. The reporter in the middle.
In English, in terms of what is the way forward for the investigations into the fire in Tai Po? And secondly, how is the government going to ensure that all the funds and public donations and every resources that the government has received or the public has given would actually reach those affected and help them, including, say, foreign domestic helpers? Thank you.
For investigations into this fire, there are quite a number of investigations because we're to ensure that justice is done. We want to ensure that we will prevent such a tragedy to happen again. So first of all, there's a serious investigation to ascertain the cause of the fire and why it develops in such a high speed, causing such serious deaths and injuries. That is being conducted by a professional team led by Fire Service Department with the law enforcement agencies, particularly the police. There is also investigation into those who we have ascertained at this level to be accountable. These include 13 people arrested by the police for suspected manslaughter, and also about 12 people arrested by the ICAC for corrupt practices, which relate to this tragedy. Both investigations reveal that the responsible culprits try to mix up substandard net with qualified lessness, so as to cheat inspection and law enforcement agencies. The modus operandi of criminals change every day. They are evil, they are cunning. But I thank the law enforcement agencies to do all they can to overcome these challenges and keep digging, leaving no stones unturned. So I urge this joint investigation by the police and the ICAC to proceed as fast as possible so that those responsible should be charged to court ASAP. And I also want them to investigate to see whether there will be other people involved in any related capacity, so that anybody who should be accounted for should be accounted for, and justice is seen to be done, so they will let the dead rest in peace, let society see that justice is done. I have identified a large number of areas where issues should be addressed, because this tragic fire reflects significant lapses in the building works, from construction to supervision, with multiple points of failure. And we must implement systemic reform. And the issues identified include, first, the safety requirements, standards, supervision, and routine maintenance system for construction works. Second, systemic issues in the construction process, such as inappropriate connected interests, conflicts of roles, and corrupt collusion. Third, establishing an up-to-date list of materials for which safety standards are properly set, their review and updating, the required verification and testing systems. Fourth, examining the roles and responsibilities of regulatory personnel across all stages of the project chain, including government departments and authorized professionals. Fifth, issues of corruption, bid rigging, and irregular tendering in building maintenance projects. Sixth, the supervision and responsibility of the installation and effective operation of fire safety systems in buildings. Seventh, accountability related to the above areas in the fire in Tai Po. And eighth, the adequacy or otherwise of legislation and penalties. I call for thorough investigation and serious reform. We will overcome the obstacles of vested interests, pursue accountability, regardless of who he or she is. We must uncover the truth, ensure that justice is served, let the deceased rest in peace, and provide comfort to the living. Therefore, while criminal and fire investigations are proceeding continuously, I will establish an independent committee to conduct comprehensive and in-depth review to reform the building work system and prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. To ensure the committee's independence and credibility, I will invite a judge to lead its work. I shall liaise with him to define its detailed terms of reference, and at the same time, I will explore ways to assist in supporting the committee's operational efficiency, such that the government can provide more detailed information or carry out some work on its direction, so as to enable it to complete its task efficiently and submit a report early to the Chief Executive with recommendations to assist the government to make the reform. Regarding all the donations, I must thank everybody, all the donors, for their kindness, sincerity, and commitment to help us, to help Hong Kong as a whole, to help particularly those who suffered in this fire, to recover their lives, and also to ensure that they will continue to look ahead and live their living. We ensure all the resources are well put on them to ensure they will live through this difficult time and also recover their new living. We will, of course, publish clearly the account of the use of money. But there will be a lot of work that we need to do. We'll continue to talk to the victims, the families, and those affected, to listen to the wishes and wants, to see how we can help to ensure that they can continue to live a normal life. But I sincerely urge and request every one of us to unite, to help them, to unite, to make the reform, to unite, to take justice, to take those responsible to justice, and also to create a common will to make Hong Kong a better home for everybody. Thank you.
好，今日會見傳媒嘅環節。
This is the end of the press briefing. Thank you.